Hi, welcome to In the Flow with River. If you are a returning subscriber, I welcome you back. And if you're new, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you will subscribe to my channel and follow along on my journey. Each week, I will be sharing and continue to share different lessons and things that I've learned along the way that have helped me to break free from a lot of the pain and suffering that I have experienced in my life, and to continue to work and find new ways to grow and to change. So I welcome you here. I hope that this is a place where you will like this video, share this video, and maybe comment and share some of your own personal experiences. All right, so let's dig into today's topic. Today's topic kind of comes to me because of a conversation that I had. There was a time in my life where I kind of scanned my life, the landscape of my life, and just felt like I had created just a lot of mess. I looked at the culmination of a lot of different decisions and where I had gotten to at a certain point in my life. And to say that it felt hopeless and overwhelming, I don't think even captures it, how bad it felt. It felt horrible. And when I started going to therapy and working with a therapist that I still see to this day, there were times where I would sit in her office and I would just cry, and I would think about all of the choices that I had made that had hurt me, had hurt other people. I had created a mess. I just as Elizabeth Lesser talks about in the book Broken Open, I broke down and broke open. I had reached a point where, and how I got there I don't think is as important as how I got out, but one of the things that got me there was not living in integrity within myself. I wasn't living in a truthful place within myself. I wasn't following what was right for me. A lot of times I was making decisions because I was approval seeking, or I was doing what other people expected of me, or not doing something because other people said it was wrong. And so I got to this point, I think, where my soul and spirit said, okay, you need to get on your path. But in order to get on my path, I had to find my path first. And so what that looked like was I started therapy, and I had no clue how to fix any of my life. But here's where I started. I started with just trying to focus on each day doing the next right thing. I went to therapy every week, sometimes multiple times in a week. I was open and receptive to guidance. I didn't really have a clear idea of where I was going, and then this is where this thing that I'm going to share with you helped. I had gone to a conference probably many years ago, and it was called Mindfulness Approach to Therapy. It was called Buddha Meets Freud, a mindfulness approach to therapy. And the speakers at this conference were just incredible. And Bill O'Hanlon, who's one of my favorite teachers, he studied with Milton Erickson of the Ericksonian Foundation. He had us all, there's like a room of probably 2,000 people at this conference in Arizona, and he had us all connect with our older and wiser self. And sorry, you're probably hearing Sophie chewing a bone in the background, I apologize. But he had us connect with our older and wiser self, like that vision that we hold of us way on the other side of all of our problems, on the other side of all of the stuff that we're going through. And for me, for some reason, whenever I think of my older, wiser self, that I imagine in my mind, it's like she's like 93 years old and happy. And my girlfriend Shannon and I, we always talk about, what we're going to be like when we're older. Maybe we'll start smoking like clove cigarettes just because, why not? We're going to die, we joke about it. Well, anyway, he had us do this exercise where our older self wrote a letter to our current self and whatever we were going through. And it was advice from our more evolved self. Let me tell you, the next day we went into the seminar, into this training, and everyone was buzzing and talking, and they were like, they reread their letters in the morning before coming to the start of the day, and people shared their letters, and they were things like, be kind to yourself, forgive yourself, stop dwelling in the mistakes, focus on how to write your path. In 5 years, this won't matter. In 10 years, you won't even remember the details of it. And when you're my age, you'll be lucky if you've got underwear on. And it was just this, it put a whole new perspective on everything. And so when I started the process with Holly, I was feeling much that same way, just like, how am I ever gonna get out of this? How am I ever gonna fix this? How am I ever gonna change my life? And what does that look like? And I sat down and I started writing letters to myself. And I would write things and I would tell myself, you'll get through this. Remember how strong you are. You'll look back on this and think, wow, look at how much I learned. And I would write those kinds of things. And what happened was, instead of dwelling in the past and in how I got there and in what happened and all the mistakes that I made, and being in the shame of it all. I mean, I was just smothered in shame. Instead of being in that place, what happened was I was able to start washing the shame off of me, cleaning my life up, and each day doing it a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And did I have some, backslides? Absolutely. All growth, we're gonna slide back. We're gonna take, a couple steps forward and we take some steps back. But the more you stay on your path and the more consistent you stay with it, what happens is that the falls become more infrequent and we get up faster. So like now when I make a mistake, if I handle something poorly, I clean it up right away, I fix it, I take responsibility for it, and I move forward. I don't dwell in it, I don't feel bad about it, I don't second guess, well, why didn't I do this versus why did I do that, blah, da, 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 da. It's far too much, it's too overwhelming, right? And here's the other thing that I remember is that we are all here to learn. And so if I can transform some of my greatest mistakes into some of the most incredible lessons, then it was totally worth it. It's like Oprah says, no experience is ever wasted. And I think no experience is ever wasted if you take the time to learn from it, if you take the time to reflect on it and to sit with it and ask yourself, is this who I really am? Is this who I'm evolving to? Is this where I want to go? What do I want my life to look like? And to take what is called a long view. So I'll introduce you to this idea of a long view because I think it's also very powerful when you're trying to kind of right your wrongs. I first learned about a long view when I went to a hypnotherapy training. It was rapid resolution therapy done by Dr. John Conley. It was revolutionary. Still, I use the things I was taught by him, and it's amazing. But one of the things that he talked about was the idea of taking a long view when you look at your goals, when you look at your life. So what that looks like is this. So let's say you're sitting with something. I'll just use my own life. I kind of looked and I went, I've made a mess of my life. How am I going to repair my relationship with my children, my daughters? How am I going to fix this? How am I going to fix that? And I had to think in terms of it's going to take time. I had to think in terms of like a long view, like when people decide to invest money, for example, in the stock market, if they're looking for a quick return, that's not the place to do it. But if they're saying, you know what, I'm in this for the long term, because it's going to go through these ups and downs, if I can look long view, if I can take that long view and hold that vision, that will bring me closer to it. Eventually what will happen is I will start becoming more that person that I desire to truly be, or the person I really am, right? So think about how you can start shifting where you're at by doing a couple of things. Start with writing a letter to yourself. Connect with that older and wiser version, that part of you that's like totally doesn't have a care in the world, is happy, feels like, you've lived a life well lived. you survived some stuff, and now you're just kind of happy and content. And write it from that vantage point. Use that wise self to write yourself a letter, guiding you. And sometimes write multiple letters and go back and look at them, because I look at the letters that I wrote to myself, and they were so loving, and they were so kind and supportive and encouraging. And they were the words that I needed to hear. And I couldn't, we can't always rely on other people to meet our needs. We have to learn how to meet our own needs. And so that was one of those first ways that I started holding a vision of who I really am that was bigger than my current circumstances or the culmination of the choices that I made and the effects. I no longer wanted to live at the effect of. I wanted to be effective in my life. And so I had a lot of work to do, and it took time. It didn't happen overnight. It was diligent. It took a lot of time. I say this to my clients, like, let's say you decided that you wanted to run the Chicago Marathon. It would take a lot of training and a lot of consistency and a lot of dedication and a lot of determination, and you have to be running consistently if you wanted to be able to be ready to run the Chicago Marathon. That's what I think life is. I think life is consistently training in how do I get stronger, wiser, kinder, more compassionate, clearer, where do I need to grow? And having that long view, those runners, they have the long view. They're like, I've got this marathon. And so every single day they think, okay, I want to be able to run this marathon, so I have to get up and run today, even though I might not want to. And then the next day, I have to go train today, and I have to lift weights, and I need to take care of my body, and I need to do these things. Changing our lives requires a lot of dedication. It requires a lot of determination. It requires perseverance, persistence, not giving up, and for sure, holding that higher vision, really holding that high vision that says, I will transcend this situation and these circumstances. I will not be a prisoner of this. There are some really wonderful books out there. Broken Open by Elizabeth Lesser is one of my favorites. Another book is by Shaka Singh Kaur. I'll figure out how to put a link to that book. But he went to prison and he wrote a book about righting his wrongs and coming back after going to prison for murder and rebuilding his life. And now he's hanging out with like Russell Simmons and having tea at Oprah's house, and he's learned a lot, and he's totally turned his life around. So, he is an inspiration to me. Lots of people are inspirations. Be an inspiration to yourself. Let your situation be changed. And then the last thing that I'm going to say is pray. Pray and ask for God to transform you on the deepest of levels, on all levels. Ask that your heart be changed. Ask for transformation. Ask for guidance, because we can't do it alone, and we shouldn't have to. So that is my message to you today. When you guys find yourself in a situation where you're just like, I don't like where my life is, it's really hard, it's not good, don't focus on how you got there. Focus on where do you want to go? How do you clean up your mess and then move forward, right? Because there's a lot of cleanup work to do. It's like you got to clean up your side of the street before you can, take care of other things. So those are just some good things that I wanted to share with you guys. I look forward to connecting with you again. Have a great, wonderful day, and enjoy the rest of the summer, or the Indian summer, whatever weather you're having, wherever you are. So I send you love and good wishes. Again, please subscribe. Please share this channel with your friends and family. I really want to uplift and encourage people to break free from some of their struggles and experience greater happiness and peace of mind. So I send you much love.